Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to day 22. So, over the Christmas holidays, which seem to have been endless because my son actually broke up on the 16th. It's been a long time, and endless is not the right word. Of course, there's been lovely moments, but also there's a lot of hours to fill in the day and lots of things to consider. So, over the last few months, my son got really into Ninja Warrior. And then it came to the end of the season. And one of the things that we've been doing a lot is we've kind of found this sweet spot as a family where we like to go and explore lots of different areas of London, but it's always kind of with the promise of a brand new playground to explore. And there's loads of great playgrounds and green open spaces in London. So we've been doing that a lot. And ultimately, I don't know about you and the kids that you know, but mine just want to climb and run and be physical. And if I always work on the basis, if they're not doing that outside, they want to do that in your house. So, yeah, I did see Luna like running along the corner sofa the other day. And there we go. Anyway, Oscar was talking about Ninja Warrior. And then suddenly it dawned on me that we had gladiators in the 90s. Now, if you're not from the UK, you can go on YouTube and you can find gladiators. Basically, it was like Ninja Warrior, where people who were incredibly fit did these assault courses, and they were chased and kind of competing with these gladiators. And just watching it back and just showing it to Oscar, made me really realize how much technology had changed and camera angles and things like that. Also, the hair, the volume, incredible. A lot of perms, a lot of mullets. They were still going strong in 1994. Anyway, Oscar was reading it and he said, 1994, is that when this episode was made? And I just said yes, and kind of almost brushed it off like it was 10 years ago. Until I worked out it was 29 years ago. And it really took me back to that time of thinking about how old I was and what I was doing. So I was about 12 or 13, so year 8 or year 9, I can't remember which. And it was an interesting time for me because when I went to school, when I went to secondary school, I was really excited. Like, I was very enthusiastic, but also quite anxious. I was really small for my age. And I remember the first week of not being able to find my locker. So I just literally carried everything that I might need. And I remember, oh my goodness, like I had a rucksack. I had one of those like hold-all things with hockey kit, swimming kit, like just in case I needed everything. I think I had another tote bag with something. No, I tell you what it would have been. It would have been one of those River Island bags, with some folders. I was just so laden down because I just wanted to do the right thing. And I remember going into year 8 and thinking something shifted here. And that wasn't just a figment of my imagination. Like, I remember being in English class in year 8, and a girl in front of me turned around and told me how she just lost her virginity. And I want to say that I didn't judge her, but part of me was just so in shock. Like, what? You've done the thing? I can't believe it. I know we were talking about this yesterday as well. And as year 8, year 9, year 10 kind of happened, that was happening more and more, that people were just exploring new worlds that I didn't feel part of. Also, I felt like I didn't really feel settled or secure in school because the currency that was of popularity and things like that was very different to who I was. In my school, it was cool to mess about. It was cool to have no boundaries. In my school, it was almost like you were taking the mick out of if you were ambitious or if you were clever. The fact that I had ginger hair was awful because people used to just shout at me in the street. Somebody once spat at me. Like, there was so much stuff going on, to the point where my mum used to have to tell me, like, to stand up straight because she was worried about my posture, because I walk into a room and I just have my head down and my shoulders rounded the whole time, because that's how I felt. Like, you literally had to go in and, like, just do what you needed to do and then leave. Sorry for the beeping. That is my heated washing rack. And I was thinking about all of those parts of being 13, figuring out life, figuring out my place in the world. And on paper, much of that was very, very stressful, and it felt awful. And I literally dreaded going to school. Like, I was bullied really badly. There was a girl that used to grab me off the bus in the after school and, like, demand that I give her money. And yeah, the more I look back on that time, the more I'm like, oof, that's that was hard. That was really hardcore. But yet, I had this moment in me where I knew exactly who I was and what I wanted to do. And I knew what that path was for me. I felt very intuitive. Like, I was always one of those kids who could make decisions, or in some ways I was very sheltered, but in others I was very grown up. I could do things, I could get organized, I could be trusted to go to the shop or whatever. And I worked from being like 13, doing various things. So I sort of had those responsibilities as well. And this is where I want to go today. So many of us in our adult life are telling ourselves things that are not true. Things such as, I'm not ready. I'm not enough of an expert. What do I have to say anyway? I don't know where I would start or what I would contribute. I don't know. Like, being stuck in that place. And when I was thinking about 1994, and I was thinking about it on my run today, I was almost like, just keep, when you see those videos on YouTube where people do these epic runs across the world, and they might get people along the way go, oh gosh, oh no, he looks in pain, he looks da-da-da-da-da. And I felt like I was still, no matter what people were saying or the environment that I was in, I just kept going. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. And bizarrely, I was really focused. And that, as I said, was 29 years ago. My 13-year-old self, even though she was experiencing lots of things, she knew she could be focused. She would ask questions. She would keep going. She would find ways to figure it out. She would know when it was time to retreat. She learned things like boundaries. She knew where to say something, and she knew when to absolutely not say something. She knew when to be visible. She knew when to hide. She knew all of those things. And the last 29 years have been colourful. And so why, when I look back on that 13-year-old who knew what she was, what she was all about, and had that inner sense, why do I still question things all the time at 41? Now, I would say that's human nature, and I think it's a good thing to do, to be reflective and look in and think about how we can do things better and all of that sort of critical analysis, but not to the point where it completely stifles us And we get to the point where people who are half as qualified, half as intelligent, half as kind, half as compassionate, half as consistent, whatever your measurement is, are doing the things that you want to do and you are not. And so I spent some time with 1994 this week, and I thought about what that 13-year-old girl would say to me and what I would say to her. And sometimes those moments are really useful because it puts us straight in that present moment, and it gives us some answers of, right, no wonder that was hard. No wonder that felt tough. No wonder I had to dig deep in that moment. But also it gives us some assurance of, but look what I did anyway. Look what I can do now. And it gives some motivation, some positive encouragement, and some grounding as well. So I would love you to go back today and think about those moments in your life where you knew, and maybe you were in that moment where things were really tough and it felt like things were stacked against you, but somehow you did have that inner courage to go and do the things that you wanted to do. I would love to know what those things are for you and what resonated for you today. If you would like to find out more, go to my Work With Me page. It's over on nikkiraby.com, and I'll see you tomorrow.